Good morning, traders. It is February 1st, 2022, just after 8:35 a.m., and this is my pre-market outlook and technical analysis for day trading the SPY. All right, we are at the start of a new month. Welcome to the first trading day of the month. Let's start by saying the outlook for the month is bearish, but that is only saying we have to close below 449.91 to make that true. Now, in listening to the talking heads on TV, I keep hearing a lot about how the banks and the financial sector will carry us to recovery this year, because the banks are going to do so well in this rising rate environment. I want to call BS on that so bad, because they act like there's never been a rising rate environment that the banks didn't do well in, which there is precedent for. I'm not going to go back. I should have done my research so I can tell you the time frame exactly. But I'm not much of a fundamentalist, but I understand where people think banks will do well because they make money on interest rate spread. But I just wanted to point something out. Right now, from everything that I look at, lending is already shrinking. So regardless of the potential to make more on a basis point spread, if liquidity dries up, as it has the potential to with the Fed tightening the balance sheet, the banks won't be in a good environment either to make all of this or help us through this recovery area like they say. You can't make money on the basis point spread if you aren't lending. That's the main thing that I wanted to point out. While so many talking heads are trying to push this point along. So enough about that. I'm going to go ahead and get through our key levels of the day. Let me bring that up. All right, key levels of today, and forgive me because it's pretty tight space on the chart today. The levels are actually shrinking, so it's not a lot of space here. Starting with resistance, we have the jack resistance level at 450 through 451, which there's going to be a lot of emphasis on this 450 through 451 today. Then we have queen resistance at 452 through 453, and I should say even more emphasis on this area. Between these two, it's going to be a big fight. And king resistance, we have 454 through 456. On the support side, we have 449 through 448 as a jack support. And queen support, we have 447 through 446. And king support, we have 441 through 449. Let me say that the main thesis today is bearish, which means closing below 449.91. And the alternate thesis is bullish, closing above 449.91. Now, because the main thesis is bearish, if we get a bullish pop, that means we would likely have a more explosive move up if we break through this 452 area. So like I say, piercing this 452 area it basically pops a short squeeze that will probably build, taking us up a little faster and a little further than we would normally go. The current channel we are in is between the 453 area all the way down to the 425 area. That's the main channel that we're in. So some of the things that I'm going to be looking at is how we react to this 452, 453 area, because I would probably start looking to build swing shorts, something to last through the rest of the week, shorting this area at 452, 453. Looking at that today, if we don't get an explosive pierce through this 452, 453 area. Let me bring up these scenarios for today. All right, the first scenario is basically an expansive range day structure. We could look to set a decision area or a high boundary around the jack or queen resistance area, then chopping lower before making another try to go higher and pushing the boundary higher, and then fading again. That's what I see for a range day structure. And as always, range days have so many different variations. There's nothing that says we have to start to the upside first. We could definitely come down, find support, and then go up and try to test resistance. So that is the range day scenario. The range day scenario bodes well for building a short swing position up here, so that things play out through the end of the week the way that I'm looking at, being that the week also has a bearish connotation to it as well. And for the week, we have this bearish connotation, and the retracement level that I would be looking to reach if we get this bearish connotation or scenario to play out for the week is down to the 431 area. All right, let's go to the next scenario. All right, the next day structure is going to be the rounded reversal type of day. We can get a continued takeoff toward or through this jack resistance level toward the queen or king resistance level. We should reach our midday chop somewhere around the queen resistance level, I believe, because I'm placing a lot of emphasis on this queen resistance level. There is going to be a lot of sellers waiting on price action to reach this area. So I see it having a hard time getting above that area. However, it does set up a major short squeeze candidate where we could pop through, and that's what I want to kind of mention so that people will be prepared for it. So just in case we do pop through this 452 area, it'll be a explosive move up from that point. But if we do get the rounded reversal, we'll be looking to chop through midday around this queen resistance level, and then the second half of the day we'll spend the same amount of energy as we did in the morning going back down. That is scenario number 2. The last scenario for the day is pretty much a trend day down, which would mean we would have to open gap down and start a small relief rally back up towards that 449.91 area, which we are well above right now. Well, not much above it, but we're right at that area. But we would look for something to happen that would give us a gap down before the opening, so that we can come back up. I do, regardless of what happens, I do expect a lot of price action at this 450, 451 area, because there's decent order flow there at the 450 area. So expect to spend a lot of time at 450 today at some point, whether it's at the opening chopping sideways before we find a direction to go. As always, on the trend day type structure, we would find resistance at that previous close, which is the 449.91, and we would reverse either there or before that area, and we would get into the main trend down for the day, for the morning, and find sideways chop either at our queen or king resistance level, chopping sideways through the middle of the day, and then giving us another head fake down, like it's going to continue that trend down, but then giving us a somewhat relief rally back up. So that is what I see. Although right now it makes it a little harder for me to see the trend day down, even though the probabilities are pretty much even for all 3 scenarios today. And that's just because there's so much order flow stacked tightly together in a small space. There's nothing to build footprints going either direction, because there's so much stacking up against that 450, 451 area that piercing above that we could have that explosive move. And then there's also that we could just slide sideways through, eating up that order flow. So today is truly a hard day to kind of map out as far as where we're going, and you can tell based on the probabilities of the scenarios, it's all jumbled here together, packed tightly in this area, looking for a direction. So usually with something like this, I'm going to sit on my hands for as long as I can, waiting for evidence of a direction. And it's clearly going to be determined at this 451 or 450, somewhere around in that 450, 452 area, and looking for volume spikes to kind of give me clues either way. I hope this helps. As always, define and know your risk. Profits will come. Wishing you a successful trading day. Have a great one.